start with some introductory words or any kind of words that you'd like to start the event off with, sir, and then I'll get the questions.
Well, sure, I'll go ahead and stand up because I'm not very tall, so people probably back in the back cannot see me. Look, I want to thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy schedule, out of your busy lives to come here and give me the opportunity to sit and talk and have a conversation with you this evening. I think that right now this is one of the challenging times for our country. When I sit and look at some of the statistics for St. Lucie County, 1 in every 311 homes is in foreclosure. We have an unemployment rate that's above 11%. So when you think about the national averages, you are far above the national averages. We have to do some things to make sure that there are 3 parts of the security triangle that I really want to focus on. That's our economic security, it's our energy security, and it's our national security. And I think we need to make sure that we have individuals up in Washington, D.C. that recognize the fact that it's not about our own self-interest, it's not about special interests, it's about the interest of the American people. And it's about having the right type of conditions, the right type of tax and regulatory policies that enable small businesses to be able to grow, enable our corporations and businesses to be here in the United States of America to produce and to manufacture so that we can hire people, so they can stay in their homes, so we can get the construction industry back, so we can get people in the new homes. I think that these are challenging times for our country. And I think that when you look at our Congress right now, I believe that we're doing everything that is counterproductive to our free market and free enterprise system. We're doing everything that's counterproductive to rewarding the entrepreneurial spirit of the individual American citizen. And that's what we want to turn around. Now I know there are people out there that they don't want to agree with the things that I stand for. Let me tell you what, if you don't agree with what I stand for, then the service that I've given for the United States of America, I guess, has been an entire lie. Because in 1982, when I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, to bear true faith and allegiance to the same, it's the same oath that my father took when he served in World War II in the European theater. It's the same oath that my older brother took when he served in Vietnam. It's the same oath that my nephew, who's the 4th generation of men in my family, that have worn the uniform of this great nation. We believe in one thing. We believe in one simple thing. It's the incredible opportunities that the United States of America affords you. No matter where you are born, no matter where you come from, if you have a drive and desire in your heart, you can achieve greatness here in the United States of America. And I say that definitively because you're looking at a young man born in the inner city of Atlanta, Georgia. And in 1961, when I was born, the district that I represent, my parents could not have walked on those beaches. The fact that last night I was over speaking on Palm Beach Island, my parents could not have gone over on Palm Beach Island. But they raised me to understand that America is a great nation if you get out and take advantage of the opportunity. The first opportunity is to get a good and quality education. And that's what we must ensure for future generations. When I retired, I taught high school for a year, and in some way, shape, form, or fashion, that was such an enjoyable experience. I volunteered to go to Afghanistan for 2.5 years. Because I figured if you're going to be in a combat zone, you might as well be home. But when you think about how we are treating education for our young people, teaching a kid how to take a test is not teaching a kid. It's not preparing them with critical thinking skills. It's not giving them productive skills so that they can go out and participate in this economy. We have got to look at one simple thing. The bigger the bureaucracy grows up in Washington, D.C., the less there is down on the Main Street level. If you haven't been up in Washington, D.C. recently, if you go up and look at the skyline of D.C., there's something very noticeable. Construction cranes. And if they're building in Washington, D.C., if they're growing the bureaucracy in Washington, D.C., that means there's less capital down here. So that these closed storefronts that you see, these foreclosures that you see down here, we've got to be able to turn that around. And that's what I want to do. Put trust and confidence back in the individual sovereignty and the rights and freedoms of the American citizen. And not a bunch of folks thousands of miles away that think that they know better than what everyone else does. I want to be your voice in Washington, D.C. That's why we're here tonight. So God bless you all, and let's have a conversation.
Thank you, Congressman. Okay, question number one. How would you take care of the debt, and what specifically would you cut?
Well, first of all, let's think about this thing called the debt. You know, we are $15.6 trillion in debt in the United States of America. That clock keeps ticking. For the first time since World War II, we have a debt to GDP ratio, which means our relationship between what we owe and what we produce is upside down. It's 102%. The debt is scheduled to be at $16.2 trillion by the end of this year, and a debt to GDP ratio of 106.2%. Why do I tell you those numbers? Because when you add in the unfunded liabilities and mandates of government, the raw numbers are actually worse off than Greece. The only thing that keeps us afloat is that we do have a strong enough economy. So it's very simple. I look at agencies in Washington, D.C. that are not meeting up to their standards as far as their original mission. And also you look at the Constitution and see where have we gotten outside the size and the scope and the mandates of the federal government. Back in the late 1970s, everyone here remembers the Saudi oil embargo crisis? Remember when we had the even odd days for you and you had to say, and see, I remember that because my dad had an old Lincoln Continental with leather seats. If you know something about Georgia in the summertime, my dad was not going to be sitting on those hot leather seats. He told me to sit in those lines. But we created a government agency in the late 1970s. If you go to the website, if you listen to what the Department of Energy, their one mission statement is to make the United States of America energy independent. That was 40 years ago. We hadn't gotten there yet. So it's an agency like that, when you go line by line, you start to look at where are they not meeting up to their obligation. You know, also in the late 1970s, we had a bureau called Health, Education, and Welfare. Everyone remember that? We made the decision to take out education and make it its own separate agency, its own separate department. Now this is what I challenge any of you to go do. Look at the size and the budget of the Department of Education when we broke it out in the late 1970s. Look at the size and the budget of the Department of Education today. Then go back and look at the standards of education in the United States of America from the late 1970s to today. And if anyone can tell me that the increase of the bureaucracy of the Department of Education has had a positive impact on the standards of education in the United States of America, you tell me the best state restaurant here in St. Lucie County, I'll take you to it. Because there's an inverse relationship. Those are the type of things we have to look at. We have to look at really and truthfully, what are the functions of the Department of Homeland Security? Where can we find some of those agencies? And maybe they should fall under the Department of Defense, which is already established. We have some other agencies up there. Can someone really tell me what is the purpose of the Department of Labor? Do they sit around and study work? And once upon a time, we did need to have a Department of Labor because we were concerned about child labor and a lot of other violations that we saw in the marketplace. But I think we've corrected a lot of those things. Are we perfect yet? No. But that's how we need to go line by line and start looking at the federal government. You know, last February, something that really did catch my attention. The General Accounting Office put out a study that showed there's $200 to $300 billion of redundant and duplicative programs up in Washington, D.C. I believe there's 82 different job training programs in the federal government. It's those type of things that we have to fix. Now, the key thing you have to understand about the federal budget is broken up in two sides. There's mandatory spending and there's discretionary spending. Discretionary spending is further broken down in non-defense and defense discretionary spending. 62% of the budget of the United States of America is mandatory spending. Net interest on the debt, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. 19.5% for defense. There's not enough that you can cut